All right, let's just jump right into this one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Now, usually we're breaking down things like science, history, or, hard data. But today we're doing something a little different. We are unpacking the anatomy of a truly terrifying local legend. I'm going to walk you through a story that is so deeply unsettling, you honestly might find yourself double-checking your locks and windows tonight before you go to sleep. So, go ahead and get comfortable because we are looking at the chilling lore of what the locals call the Midnight Black House.
So, our source material places this entire legend in a small, incredibly quiet village over in West Bengal, and the absolute focal point of this mythos is this ruined, completely abandoned building just standing in total isolation at the very edge of the village. The locals, they simply refer to it as the Black House. And here's the crazy part. Nobody in the village seems to know exactly when this sprawling structure was first abandoned, but it casts this long, dark psychological shadow over the entire community.
Now, what's really interesting here is the history, because to actually understand the abandonment, we've got to go back, exactly 50 years to be precise. According to the village elders, the house was actually occupied back then. There was a young woman named Maya who lived there, and she is pretty much the catalyst for every single thing that follows in this local lore. To really grasp how this legend took off, we have to look at the exact sequence of events from 50 years ago. First up, it was a violently stormy night, like a real torrential downpour. Second, under the cover of that storm, Maya just vanished, completely and mysteriously vanished. But it's this third point that truly cemented the fear in the village. The very next morning, villagers actually found bloody handprints smeared all across the walls of the house. Maya, by the way, was never found. And point 4, well, that's when the real nightmare began for the village, because that house absolutely did not stay quiet for long.
The curse, as the legend goes, triggers at exactly midnight. Every single night, right as the clock strikes 12, the villagers report this terrifying array of auditory hallucinations coming straight from the empty black house. We're talking about the sound of someone crying, the incredibly eerie, completely out of place laughter of children, soft whispering voices just sort of carrying through the wind, and occasionally, blood-curdling screams that literally chill listeners to the bone. I mean, it is a textbook atmospheric horror setting, and it has persisted for decades.
So, enter our protagonist. Decades pass, right? And the legend of the Black House eventually catches the attention of the modern world, specifically a popular YouTuber from the city named Rahul. After hearing these terrifying stories about Maya and the midnight noises, Rahul makes a decision fueled by curiosity and honestly, a whole lot of hubris. He decides he's going to investigate the myth himself and uncover the real truth hidden inside those decaying walls.
So, the crucial point here is how prepared he thought he was. Looking at his expedition setup, it really reveals just how completely unready he was for this. He specifically chooses a rainy night, to maximize the spooky atmosphere for his viewers, and he arrives at 11:45 p.m. That is just 15 minutes before the cursed hour. His equipment is super minimal, literally just a camera to document everything and a torch to pierce the darkness. And his mindset? Limitless courage. He genuinely, truly believes there is a rational explanation for the whole shebang.
As we walk through Rahul's footage, the sensory details are just incredible. Step 1, he approaches the property, and this massive iron gate slowly creaks open completely on its own. He takes a deep breath and steps inside. The interior is exactly what you'd expect. Thick dust, broken furniture, spiderwebs absolutely everywhere, and this unnatural, penetrating cold. He actually reports feeling like he's being watched from the dark. And then, the silence breaks. From upstairs, he hears heavy footsteps. Thump, thump, thump. Following the sound, he slowly climbs the stairs, his torch beam just cutting through the blackness, until it lands on an old wooden door. And, exactly like the gate outside, the door slowly pushes itself open.
So he steps into the room, and there's really only one prominent object inside. Sitting right smack in the middle of this dusty, abandoned space is a giant, antique mirror. The source material notes that Rahul actually approaches it, reaches out, and wipes the thick layer of dust off the glass so he can look directly at his own reflection.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact moment reality broke for our investigator. At first, he just sees himself. But a few seconds later, something entirely impossible happens. In reality, Rahul is standing there, completely frozen, his face pale with rising terror. He is definitely not smiling. But in the mirror, his reflection begins to stretch into a wide, unnatural smile. He instantly takes a step back in sheer panic.
As he steps back, His reflection shifts, and a totally new figure appears inside the glass. The camera captures an entity with horrifying detail. It's a woman. She's wearing a traditional white sari, her eyes are entirely pitch black, like absolutely no white in them at all. Her face is smeared with blood, and she's wearing that same terrifying, impossible smile on her lips. Then, cutting right through the eerie silence of the house, the woman inside the mirror slowly parts her lips and speaks directly to him. She says, "I have been waiting for you for so long." With his heart absolutely pounding, Rahul immediately rips his gaze away from the mirror and looks behind him into the empty room. There's nothing there, just dust and shadows. But when he turns his head back to look into the mirror, the glass is empty. The woman in the white sari is no longer inside the reflection, because now the mirror shows that she is physically standing right behind him in the room. At this point, Rahul finally breaks. He lets out a scream of pure terror, drops that confident persona entirely, and just runs. He bolts out of the room and sprints down the dark hallway, but it's like the architecture of the house itself turns against him. He gets trapped in this spatial loop. No matter how fast he runs down the unending corridor, no matter which direction he turns in the dark, he somehow keeps looping back. He just keeps returning to the exact same spot he started from.
As his panic completely peaks, the environment shifts again. Right before his eyes, thick, fresh blood begins to seep from the walls, spelling out a horrifying message in the dark. No one returns from here. His fate, it seems, has just been sealed by the house itself.
And he is definitely no longer alone in the silence. The timeline hits midnight, and the phenomena the villagers warned everyone about finally traps him. From every dark corner of that endless corridor, hundreds of disembodied, whispering voices begin to echo around him. They're overlapping, pressing in on his ears, chanting a single terrifying command: "Stay, stay, stay." Let's move on and see how this builds the lore. Desperate, Rahul ducks into a tiny adjacent room just to hide from the voices. On the floor, his torch illuminates an old, weathered diary. He opens it, flipping frantically to the very last page, and reads the fatal rule of the Black House curse. Whoever sees their face in this mirror, their soul becomes part of this house. And the second he finishes reading that sentence, the trap snaps shut. The sequence of his final moments is captured in rapid, absolute chaos. 1. The heavy door slams shut entirely on its own. 2. His torch flickers and completely dies, plunging him into absolute pitch blackness. 3. The camera feed shakes violently as a struggle ensues. 4. A hideous, echoing laugh fills the small room. And 5. Rahul lets out one final, agonizing scream. Then, just total, dead silence. The following morning brings a stark, terrifying reality. The police actually arrive at the abandoned property after Rahul fails to return. They search the entire house from top to bottom. But Rahul, he's gone, without a single trace. The only thing they find lying in the dust of that dark room is his camera, which miraculously managed to record the entire ordeal. When the authorities review the footage, they see everything we just discussed. But it's the very final frame of the video that truly solidifies the terror of the Black House. In the last few seconds of the recording, right before it cuts out, the woman in the white sari leans in incredibly close to the camera lens. She stares right through the screen, laughs, and whispers, "Now, it's your turn." And that brings us to the core of this legend. The strict warning that persists in the village to this very day. The locals maintain 3 absolute rules. If you ever find yourself standing before the Black House at exactly midnight, and out of the darkness you hear a voice calling your specific name, never, under any circumstances, look back. Because whatever is calling out to you from the shadows is no longer human. The legend of the Black House is honestly a masterclass in atmospheric folklore. It really shows how stories of grief, isolation, and broken rules can haunt a community for literal generations. It definitely makes you wonder about the spaces we consider empty. In fact, look at the dark corner of your room right now. Are you sure? Is there truly no one there? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.